Hello and welcome. In today's exciting episode, I make a layer cake with lots and lots of different greens.
It's perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Perfect jacket.
So I was going to make a ruby dress out of this snowdrop fabric with these beautiful little flowers because it's the last week of the Scottish Snowdrop Festival and I used to live in Edinburgh, and if you've ever seen, these flowers are just the most adorable thing. But if you see them like the end of winter, it's just such a boost to see beautiful flowers. It's kind of like the Cherry Blossom Festival in Japan, but obviously not as well known. So instead of using up my beautiful Liberty fabric with the snowdrops on it, I thought, I've got this sort of dark red fabric and it's got cherry blossoms on it. So I'm going to use that in a layer cake dress. Oh, and a ruby dress and a layer cake dress are the same thing, but there's more layers in the skirt. So for the top, I use the bodice. I use the Bodice 6677, and it's just the most basic bodice you can find for a pull-on dress. It just means that you can take it on and off and there's no zip. And for the sleeves, I just use this New Look pattern, but you can basically use any sleeve pattern and just widen it in the middle to make it a puffy sleeve, and then you scrunch it up and that's how you make a puff. So, and the skirt is just strips of fabric. So here are the fabrics, and the tweed on the right is what inspired me. I just thought it would be awesome if I had a dress that was the same sort of colour story as this tweed. So these are the ones, all the fabrics that I pulled, but then I decided upon reflection that I'd take these two out because I have a dress that's partially made, and the top is one multicolor and the bottom is a plain color, and I think I'm going to use those other fabric, these two spare leftover bits. I'm going to make a band, like the skirt's plain at the moment, then there'll be a band of print, then a plain bit underneath, so it kind of looks like a ribbon at the bottom that matches the bodice. Anyway, so that was those fabrics out. So now this is all I've got left. And for the longest time, I could not figure out, because some of them are 1.5 yards, some of them are 2 yards. I think the green one is 3 or 4 yards, and the rose one, I've got loads of that, but I do want to use most of it to make other stuff. So I wasn't sure how much I wanted to use. Anyway, I only had the tiniest amount of this Sally Kelly Paradiso print left. The top of the bodice to the bottom of the bodice, that is the width of the bit that I had left. So I could only do the front of the bodice. That's why it's so cropped out of that. And then I use green for the back. Then the other bit of the Paradiso fabric I'm using for the top of the sleeves, and these two strips here are going to be, the sleeves are going to be in 3 parts, and this is everything else that I had left after that. So here they are, all stacked in the order that they're going to be sewn together in from top to bottom, but I'll lay them out and I will explain. So this is 2 yards of it's vintage coffee labels printed up, made into fabric. I mean, it's nice enough, but I wouldn't make a whole dress out of it. So I cut it into 16 strips. Tore it into 16 strips. That's going to be the very bottom ruffle of the dress. The next tier up is 3 wide, and that's got each of these colored bands is 8 strips wide. So I cut those, divided those bits of fabric into 8 strips, and now I just have to sew them together and they'll form that level. This is the middle layer. It's got 3 different types in there, and I've torn them into 4 strips. So I have to sew all 4 together, and then once they're together, I'll sew the 3 colors together. And this is the top tier. There's 2 strips of each of these. So 2 rose, 2 green floral, 2 green, 2 paradiso, and 2 of the cherry blossom in dark red. So this is what I mean by strips of fabric. I open up the fabric so it's full width, and then I just make a nick with the scissors and I tear it, and then I cut 2 when there's 2 Then I cut two exactly the same width, and they'll be the top tier. So now I have to go through and sew everything together so that they're one long strip. And once that's done for each single one, then I will sew each tier together, and then pleat each tier down and sew them together. And once all of this is a skirt, then I'll make the sleeves and the bodice and sew everything together. But first of all, I will start by just sewing all the bits into single strips. And once I've done that, I'll come back. Wish me luck. Okay, so now I'm at the point where each of the 3 layers or 4 layers are just sewn together. And so this is the top tier, the top layer. This is the second tier here. I was going to have 3 sections, 3 bands in the second tier, but I decided to just 2 might be enough. I love that elephant. It looks so awesome. And in the jungle bit. So they're French seams. I'm just showing you. So you do it with the wrong sides together, then you turn it everything inside out and you sew it again with the right sides together and you end up with French seam. And I've got the rayon jungle bit at the top, which is quite a bit thicker than the other stuff. And then I've got the greeny olive floral underneath it. And I love this tier. It's awesome. This is the tier with 4 lengths of fabric. And then so now it's time to pin these 2 tiers together. So this is the top tier. And so the roses are at the top and the dark sort of cherry coloured with the cherry blossoms is at the bottom. So I pinned that to the jungle layer, and here it is. It's the jungle layer is about twice as big, so I just pinned it in quarters, then eighths, then sixteenths, and then pleated it down, sort of thing. So it took a long time because there's so much fabric, and here we go. And then I machine sewed it and reinforced it, so machine sewed it again. Look at the tigers, the flamingo. I love that jungle layer. And I'm so glad that I made it just a little bit thicker. So yeah, so this is the top tier ending with the dark red with the cherry blossom. And the orange and the olive floral are the second tier. So now I'm going to pin the second tier to the third tier. And the third tier just has 2 as well. It's got dark red with cherry blossom as well as a green and gold layer. So then I sewed them together, and this is the whole of the skirt so far. I love this. Let's put it on the mannequin so you can see how glorious this skirt really is. Oh my gosh, I'm in love. I love this. I could do without that green layer at the top. It's just a little bit too solid. It does have metallic. Oh, here's the bottom layer. This is 16 bits. And I pleated it all ready to attach to the 8 section bit, but it's too long. I have to leave it the way it is and just turn up the green layer at the bottom. At the moment, I really disliked the green layer at the top because it just looks too solid. It does have the metallic gold over it, but from far away, it looks too solid. When I finish the dress, it will combine perfectly because if you remember the bodice, have I told you yet? Anyway, the bodice has metallic green with metallic gold on the back. So from the back, it matches perfectly because you've got, see, here we go. Now we're, this pile here on the left is for the sleeves, and there's 3 parts to the sleeves. So now I've sewn them together. And I realized that I actually like the Paradiso, so the multicolored fabric at the bottom. That's my favorite, and I searched absolutely everywhere for that one. So I like that at the bottom rather than just being all scrunched up and pleated down in the top. So then I cut out sewed the 3 together, then I cut them out, and then I sewed them together, and I also sewed a little black bit of facing in the inside just to and folded it over twice and then hand stitched it down. There's also one pleat at the top. At the bottom, there's one box pleat and then 2 knife pleats either side of the box pleat. And yeah, and then I just pinned up, and then I finally finished hand stitching the facing, and one of them's on a glass jar standing up to show you, and the other one's just on the bench. So now that the 2 sleeves are ready, it is time to sew the bodice together, and the black bit I showed you is the lining of the bodice. So it's just the same thing cut out of plain black fabric. And so I sewed them together, just sewed the side seams and the shoulder seams, and then I put one inside the other and pinned them, and then I sewed them, and then I clipped the curve, and then I turned it out and pinned it. So now we have the bodice and the sleeves, and it's time to set the sleeves. So I pinned them into place. I actually pinned both sleeves at once. I don't recommend that, but oh my gosh, these sleeves are adorable. So now it was time to get the skirt off the mannequin. Let's attach these things together. So top of the skirt, bottom of the bodice, pin them together, pleat down the top of the skirt, and then machine sew, double, then reinforce with machine, and then you hand stitch the bodice on the inside, the lining, and do the same to the hem. This is the 16, the bottom layer, and yeah, so I'm not going to use that in this. I'll use it in a different skirt. This one is going to be attached to my original layer cake dress, the one that you can sort of just see on the right there. But yeah, I'm just got to film my end reveal before I do that, because the light will go otherwise, because sewing on the bottom tier just takes forever, pleating it down, and I also have to do the hem. But yeah, the green and red one, the lighter one, is going to be 1 tier more, so it's going to be slightly shorter than this one. And I've included this that previous shot because some people wanted to see them without sashes, so now I've put a sash on the lighter one and a ribbon on the darker one. This is the 2 dresses from the side. I'm not sure if you want to see. And this is the back. This is what I mean where the green balances out. There's a green back top, green mid thigh, and then green right at the bottom. So they balance out. And then this is the front. I am so glad that I used, and this is the jungle section. This is a rayon. And yeah, I love the flamingos, the elephant and the tigers. They're just so beautiful. And yeah, it's such a lovely mix. I'm so glad the way it worked out. I was so uncertain. That's why I'm kind of gushing. I'm not like full of myself. I was just so uncertain. When I got them together, I was like, just take the leap. Just believe it, because just by themselves, they looked a bit rocky. And yeah, I was tempted to do the little frill thing over the shoulder, but I'm glad I didn't, because I'm not sure ruffles are really me. But this 3 different fabrics on the, I think it works with this one. But now I'm pointing out that I still haven't hemmed the sleeves and I still haven't done the ruffle. And here's the original fabric that inspired this latest dress. It is just the most glorious tweed. So here's a side-by-side comparison. They don't really look anything alike. I think it's the blue, but I think if I had added blue to this, it just would have knocked everything out. I think there is a lot in here, and all the different reds, like the cherry blossom and the floral and all the other loud prints. I mean, it's pretty audacious, but I like them together. I really, really like this dress. And I think how about those sleeves? I love those sleeves. Next time I don't have enough, because the last jacket that I just made, the green tweed with the vintage Chanel silhouette, I had to do 3/4 sleeves for that one because I didn't have enough. But next time I have that problem with not having enough tweed, I am so totally going to consider making a triple, like using 3 different fabrics for the sleeves, so that the shoulders and the upper arm are 2 different fabrics, and then go back to the main fabric for the bottom of the sleeves. I think that might be a thing. Anyway, so there we go. There is my dress, and I love this dress so much. I'm still not 100% about that green layer, but I love this. I love the sleeves. I think they look so good together, and I'm so glad I flipped it, because I was originally going to have the Paradiso fabric at the top, and yeah, it really just would have been all eaten up with the pleats. And I love that at the bottom you can see so much more of it, and the green is a lot less. So yeah, I think it would have been a bit much if it had been the other way around. But yeah, I think because I had such a tiny amount of that Paradiso fabric left, I think I'm so good. Gold Star, I think I've really used that well. And I love the other one as well. I'm definitely going to, hopefully by the time you see this video, so after I've edited this and uploaded it, then I think I'll finish the sleeves and the hem and attaching that last layer to this one. So there you have it. It is... Oh, I just love these dresses, and I love pinning them up and I love twirling in them, but I absolutely love pinning them up and taking photos with the ridiculously wide swathes of the skirt. I think the next time I do this, I'll have, instead of having 5 layers in the top tier of that's just 2 strips of fabric wide, I think I'll have 4 layers, and then the skirt will go out even further, because at the moment the bottom is very swirl worthy, and I like that it doesn't go up too high. But yeah, I think I'll do the next variation will be 4 layers in the top tier and more layers in the bottom. It just means more fabric, which means it will be much heavier, and this one is already sort of dangerously heavy. Yeah, so I'm not sure about using a rayon layer. I think you really do need the structural integrity. I mean, that rayon print is gorgeous, and it doesn't come in a cotton. So, I mean, it's fine for this dress, but yeah, on the next one, because I'm just going to keep, I'm just going to make more and more, and just going to try and use up so much fabric each time I do it. I think I'm going to do a skirt version, because I think those Eastern European skirts where they have loads and loads of really big layers, I think they are fabulous. But yeah, so thank you very much for watching, and I hope you're inspired to make a layer cake dress of your own. It does take a lot more time than a standard dress, because I mean, you are literally sewing yards and yards and yards of French seams, all of them together with French seams. So that does take a while, but I think it's so completely worth it, especially the sleeves. So thanks again for watching. I really appreciate it. And yeah, I hope this brings you joy and makes you look forward to the sunshine that is coming your way.